Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Amy. Welcome. I make content helping you live your best life, so if you're interested, I would love it if you would go ahead and subscribe. In today's video, we are talking about my pilonidal disease journey and surgery. I know that many people struggle with this, and this is something that really is not very known or heard about. And it was very new to me this year, but I just wanted to go ahead and share my journey and hopefully help somebody out there. I will be following this video up with a advice video for those who have this disease and for those who are going to be getting surgery for it. So let's rewind back to when I first discovered something was wrong with me. It was about 2010 and I was in middle school and I felt a really horrible pain in the butt bone area, the tailbone area. And I honestly thought that I broke my tailbone, but I had no idea how I would have done that. No one in my family had ever experienced something like that before, so nobody could really tell me anything. I went to the ER and I did not allow the doctor to see my behind just because it was a male, and at the time I was just like, no. I never got any kind of x-rays, nothing to see if my butt bone is broken, because deep down inside I just kind of knew that it wasn't really possible because I hadn't had like a big fall or anything. My family was saying that it was due to me sitting down so much and being on the computer so much, and even that didn't make full sense to me. So I really just had no idea. Finally, one day, my mom took me to Children's Hospital. And around this time I was still in middle school. I was like in 7th or 8th grade. They actually said that it was kind of like a boil or a cyst, and they did drain it. It was so painful. Like, I did not get any kind of like numbing lotion or anything like that. I felt everything. It was so painful and it felt huge. But in reality, it was very small. But all they did was they drained it, they gave me some pain medication, and then they told me that there's a big possibility that it would come back in the future. Fast forward 8 years later, I am 21 years old, and the same pain comes back, but a little worse. And I do sit down a lot. A part of my job is to sit down to work on the computer and things like that. So I kind of couldn't really fully do my job just because I could not sit down for long periods of time. Like, putting pressure in that area is just so painful. So I decided to do some research, and I found out that this thing is actually called a pilonidal cyst, but overall it's called pilonidal disease. So I began seeing some videos of people sharing their journey and people talking about getting their surgery, and I had no idea that you could even get a surgery for this. But luckily I found a doctor in my area who I went and visited, and he gave me a lot more information. He told me that this cyst wasn't really like a cyst. Cysts usually have sacs that you can pull out together, and this wasn't one of those. He said that it's really just kind of like a cavity in that tailbone area that fills with like oil, skin, and hair. And in that area there's obviously some skin, and there are some pores that are like enlarged, and they're basically entry points for the hair, the oil, and the skin to kind of go into. I don't know about you, but I'm a pretty hairy person, so I wasn't fully surprised, but it was very interesting to learn that that actually is in that area. And he took a look and he was like, yeah, I can definitely see those entry points. So that cavity really only hurts when it becomes inflamed or infected, and when that happens, it hurts even more when you put pressure on it, and that's what I was feeling. By the way, my doctor was Dr. Lambert at Collin County Surgeons in McKinney, Texas, and he is amazing. Him and his staff are absolutely amazing. They helped me throughout the entire process, and I cannot recommend them enough. So I went in to meet them, and I scheduled my surgery for about 2 weeks later because I was ready to get this done. And he explained the kind of surgery that it would be. It's called a cleft lift surgery. So basically what they would do is they would remove the skin, take all this stuff out, and then sew my skin back together. So it would remove the actual entry points, which would hopefully solve the problem. So this was my first surgery ever, and I was so nervous. I had never been under before, and my anxiety was just at the max that it could be. It was pretty scary in the beginning. but I was reassured, and all the staff was really nice at the surgery center. So I did get to speak to the doctor before I had the surgery. I asked him a few questions, and we got to film that for you guys. But a little before it was time to go in for the surgery, they did come and they gave me like the laughing gas type of like lighter anesthesia before going into the operation room, and I was so nervous. I'm not really used to having needles in me or IVs and things like that, so that was kind of nerve-wracking as well, but it all went really smoothly. And as they were rolling me into the operating room, I just began laughing, and it was kind of uncontrollable. Eventually they stopped me, and then they put the anesthesia like mask, I guess, over me, and then they counted down, and eventually I fell asleep, and it was very fast. Just FYI, this is going to be a surgery that's going to be obviously in your lower back area, so they do flip you over for the surgery. When I woke up, I felt really good. One of the nurses was there. I didn't get to see the doctor afterward, and I had to have help going to use the restroom. I couldn't sit directly on my butt on the way home either. I had to sit on like my side, and I had to kind of be like laid down. So I picked up my pain medicine from the pharmacy, and I picked up Pilonidal, and then I spent about 3 to 4 weeks at home. I spent time between being at my own home and being at my parents' house. I had to have help a little bit because my husband was out of town, so my mom kind of took care of me while he was out of town, and then the rest of the time my husband took care of me. But during this time, I had a really horrible experience with Pilonidal. It seriously like gave me the worst experience of my life, but I will get into that a little later. So after the surgery, there was one incision down the crack, more so like in the upper tailbone, lower back area, and then there was a drain on like one side, so basically like one cheek. There was a drain there, and that did leave 2 scars for the drain holes. The drain was sticking out on 2 ends, and we did have to have gauze on both ends as well as on the main incision throughout the first few months. We changed the gauze for the drain holes about 3 to 6 times a day, depending. I did try to change the middle gauze, the main incision gauze, as often as possible whenever I did go to the restroom. Using the restroom throughout the first week was literally a pain in the ass. It was so horrible. I was so constipated. It was so bad. I could not go number 2, and I had to be really careful with like sitting down, standing up, sitting down for too long, all that stuff. I also could not take a shower while the drain was in, like a proper shower while the drain was in, so I couldn't do that for about an entire week, and that wasn't fun, but it was really not a big deal. Overall, the pain was tolerable. It was not super bad from what I remember. The absolute most memorable and the worst part of the entire experience, and mind you, from the time that I got the surgery until the time that I had my last appointment, it was about 6 months, and I'll get more into that. Throughout the entire time, the most memorable time was the first like 2 to 3 weeks. It was pretty horrible. It wasn't horrible in the sense of the actual surgery itself, like the incisions and the drain holes were fine, but the effects of Pilonidal were a nightmare, like so bad. One thing that I have to say is you have to listen to your body, because I took the pain medicine Pilonidal because I thought I needed to, but in reality, it did nothing for me other than make my life miserable for a few weeks. There was still pain there, but it wasn't like the worst pain ever. Sometimes the pain was worse than other times, but for the most part, I don't think it was like super painful. So during that time, my dad was also experiencing some issues of his own, and I was thankfully, there to help him through that, but I was still trying to heal myself, not only in terms of the actual surgery and the wound and stuff like that, but also emotionally. But of course, I'm more than happy to be there for my dad. Like, I would do anything for him. So one night, he was going through his things, so I was just like, you know what, let's go for a drive. And we ended up driving like 30 minutes out. It was like really late, but he needed, or actually like really early in the morning, but he just needed to be, taken out. I drove. That was my first time driving in like a week and a half or so, and I made the horrible mistake of sitting on a pillow, and I felt pain, but I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to make I didn't want to make anybody feel bad. Like, I didn't want to add more to my dad's plate. I just wanted to, you know, make this drive and help him feel better. We were actually going to the hospital, but in reality, he just needed to drive and get some fresh air. So that experience actually made my wound worse. It actually opened the wound and made it deeper a little bit, and that extended my recovery time, unfortunately. It was pretty painful, and there was actually one time that I was using the restroom, and I just happened to look down in the toilet when I'm using the restroom sometimes, and I looked down and I just saw a stream of blood, like falling like a waterfall into the toilet. It was so scary. So immediately I called the hospital, called my doctor. He called me back and we discussed it, and he was like, this is not necessarily like a really like emergency type situation. This does happen sometimes. And I went in like the next day or the next few days, and he did tell me that the wound did open a little bit more, and he used silver nitrate on the wound for like months to help the cells kind of grow a little faster. So that actually helped a lot. It did sting and it made the discharge black, which was a little scary, but overall that did help. At first I went to the doctor and had my appointments weekly, then they became every 2 weeks, and then they became every month. And they were every week for like 2 or 3 months, I would say, maybe even 4 months. And luckily, within the first 90-day period with my insurance, I didn't have to pay a copay, so that was all covered with like the surgery costs and everything else. For the surgery, I think we paid like less than $400. Thankfully, you know, we have pretty good insurance, so it was not a lot. And we did have to pay the surgeon, the facility, and the anesthesiologist. And I think the anesthesiologist was covered with the insurance, and then we paid initially like $600 or something for the facility itself, but then we got a refund after the insurance came through, and then we paid a small fee for the surgeon as well, like out of pocket. So we took the drain out within 1 week, and that was slightly painful, but I was happy to have those out. I do have 2 scars that look like bullet hole wounds, honestly, for the drain holes, and I still have, of course, the main incision scar. The scars that are very noticeable to me are the drain hole scars, and it's a little weird, but they literally like moved up on my butt and back. So yeah, they moved. They're very red, and they are 3D, so they're like, they kind of like rise a little bit. They feel like buttons that you could press. I believe initially I had some stitches that were on the inside of the main incision, but towards the end we talked about possibly stitching the main incision again to help it kind of heal faster, but that kind of increased my chances of getting an infection. Also, I never took antibiotics throughout this time. I was never prescribed antibiotics, and I was really happy about that, just because I don't want to mess up my gut even more. Like I said, I was at home for about 3 to 4 weeks. I got a standing desk at work, so that's pretty awesome. We also got a couch, which was very, very generous and very, very nice. That was really nice to be able to lay on. I did begin going to work 3 times a week, I believe, or 2 to 3 times a week, because my drive increased after a little bit. It became over an hour, and I really was not supposed to be sitting for more than 30 minutes at a time, so I would have to take breaks while driving, and that was a pain. Literally, I felt pain, but also it was a pain to have to take breaks. I believe the drain holes closed up in about 2 months. We did have to continuously buy gauze and buy tape and things for pretty much almost 5 of the months, and I did get an allergic reaction to the tape that we were using, because you know, it just was sitting there. I just used tape for so long, so eventually I stopped using tape because it made me feel so itchy, and it made my butt look really weird. The main incision pretty much leaked the entire time until June or so. It's a good sign, because that just means that you're obviously healing. I never bought a donut to sit on because it really was pointless. My incision is like on my lower back, so it would have not made a difference. I did take vitamins, and what you eat throughout this process will definitely help you. I definitely still feel some pain, some soreness, and discomfort in the area if I'm sitting for too long, and that's fine for me. Also throughout the first like 4 months or so, that entire area was numb, so I could not feel the incision. I could not feel my butt crack pretty much. Like it just was very numb throughout the entire time, especially in the very beginning. It felt very weird. I was restricted to work out or do squats or squat or bend basically for a long time, but I was cleared to begin working out again around the 5-month mark. So July 2018, I was told that I should definitely take it easy with the lower body and don't do things as fast or as hard. Just take your time to decrease the risk of anything opening again. That's like a really big fear of mine. So I have not gotten to that just yet. I will begin doing that soon, but I will be taking it very slow. I think that I'll be fully ready to go hard again with the lower body around the 8-month to 12-month mark. And I'm perfectly fine with that. You can do upper body workouts, but just be careful with the lower body overall. My last appointment was in mid-July of 2018, and I have not been back since. Overall, I definitely recommend the cleft lip surgery. It actually could have gone a lot worse, but I'm so thankful for the help of everyone at Collin County Surgeons and Dr. Lambert. They definitely helped me get through it, and without them I obviously would not have been able to get through it, especially the really tough time that affected me emotionally and mentally. So thank you to them, and I highly recommend them. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I will be leaving a link down below to where you can read this if you would like to. If I forgot anything, I will be updating that on my blog, so please go over there to see if I updated anything. If you have any questions, please let me know by commenting down below, and please subscribe if you aren't already. I would love to help you in any way that I can. I want to wish you the absolute best of luck. This is going to be a great step in your life, and I'm very proud of you, very happy for you, and I know that you can do it. You are strong, and we are in this together. So hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next time.